together.
And that is my prayer for you, for all of us.
Hey YTHPC, it's Phil Lewis here.
And I'm Taylor Johnson.
And we're coming back at you live again this week. And we're going to be stepping back a little bit from the fun and games and talking about something a little bit serious around the context of self-care and rest, particularly because it's coming to the end of the quarter. And we know that y'all are in the midst of so many testing and so much homework. And it's wild, isn't it, Taylor?
Yeah, well, and also the holiday season. But before we get into that, I don't know if you know anything different about Phil and his face.
I had to shave my mustache off because, the wifey asked. And so I'm growing it back, so don't worry, y'all. Maybe by next time we film, I'll have a full setup again. But for now, I'm just working the sides. So.
January 2021.
January 2021. No shave January.
But yes, so this week we are going to be talking a little bit more about rest and self-care and what does it truly look like. So Phil, I know at the Edge you guys talked about the difference between self-care and self-indulgence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think one of the things that we talked about in our Faith and Mental Health series is what does that look like to practice self-care and what's the difference, like Taylor said, between self-care and indulgence. And self-care is intentional acts of feeding our holistic self. So that's like going for walks, that's doing art, that's listening to music, that's doing those kind of things that feed our soul. And self-indulgence is kind of like they're not bad things, but it's the kind of things that if you do too much of those things, it becomes bad things. Like if you, for example, it's like when you're watching Netflix and then eventually says, "Are you still watching this?" Right? It's pretty convicting. I know it convicts me, and it's like one of those things where like that's when you know like you've hit the point and Netflix is telling you this is self-indulgence.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's good. I think self-indulgence and with like TV or anything, if you've taken time to rest, but you feel tired after resting, I think that's like a good sign of maybe I was just self-indulging. Like I didn't actually do something that feeds my soul. I actually have this book here on the coffee table. It's called Garden City by John Mark Comer. It's actually a really good book about what it looks like to rest well and like how it's biblical and how we see in the Bible, right? When God created the world, he created the world in 6 days and on the seventh day he rested. God models for us that it's okay to rest. And I love what John Mark Comer says. He says that rest doesn't mean you're not productive. It just means you're doing something productive apart from work. So for us, it would be like, I'm not sending emails on my rest day. I might be cleaning because having a clean room makes me feel nice, right? And so for you, it might be, I'm taking half a day to not do homework. And during that space, I'm spending intentional time with my family or I'm doing artwork or something along those lines. Phil and I asked y'all, what do you like to do to rest and self-care? And so we're actually going to talk about a few of those things and we're going to share what our own self-care items are.
I'm pumped.
Phil, what do you do?
I mean, normally I love, on my rest days, like typically on Fridays, I love hiking.
Okay.
Like, for me, like hiking is a really big, or like any outdoor sports.
You're
like
wearing Patagonia, it makes sense, you know?
Shout out to Patagonia. Yeah, I love being outside. Like I think that for me is like a space where I can just breathe. Like whether it's like the fresh air, obviously, but I think it's just taking a break, like you said, from emails and work and just being, because we don't really get a lot of time like that.
Yeah. I think for me, so I have lots of them, but I also think it's important to acknowledge that self-care and rest, sometimes we don't have all day, right? Sometimes we don't have a full day to dedicate to rest in a season, but it's about finding those little pockets of rest that give you breath. And so I have my 2-minute self-care, which is my mascara. So
I love it.
Something that I love to do every day, it doesn't matter, is I put on mascara. It is a really centering time for me. Like I just I'm focused on my lashes. I'm not thinking about work. I'm not thinking about any of the other things I have to do. I'm literally just, and it's so peaceful to watch my lashes get longer.
Longer and longer and longer from glory to glory. I love it.
And what is something else that students have said that they do to self-care?
Yeah, I mean, I know some students have said basketball is one, or sports is one way that they do that. I mean, I love it because I think getting your body active and getting moving and being able to think about what you're doing and having your body move and get active is just amazing.
Yeah. And some of you also said too, like, especially in COVID and the pandemic, like, there's not a lot of peer interaction. And so some of you have been able to see friends through sports as it's been COVID regulated and socially distanced, which has been awesome. Another thing that you mentioned was reading And so I brought my favorite book, which is... this is my favorite
What's
book.
the name?
The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Gatsby.
Yes, so if you're in high school, you're probably reading this book or probably will read this book.
Probably.
And so I was an English major in college, and so reading was something I did for school, but it was also important that I read things apart from school.
Yeah.
So if you are someone who enjoys reading, like, I'd love to know, what do you like to read apart from like work-related reading, you know? So what do you like to read?
I love reading, there's a book, like fiction, whenever I'm not, because I read nonfiction for school, a lot of like, and theology, but I love reading like fiction. I think there's a book called The Tale of Despero. Some of y'all might have read it like a long time ago. It's like a throwback, but yeah, I love those. That's a book that I would pick up and read again. Or Harry Potter. Harry Potter is like a good book to read during like some downtime that you can just move through like 10, 20, 30 pages so quickly. So.
I have to read Harry Potter in a British accent, like actually out loud, or else I can't vibe with it.
Is J.K. Rowling, is she British?
I think so.
Okay.
The cast is British.
Yeah. No, that's real. That's real.
And then what was another one of the self-care things that people talked about?
Yeah. Another one was like watching TV. Like I know a lot of students, whether it's Netflix or whether it's Hulu, Amazon,
Disney Plus.
Disney Plus. Hello. A lot of students said watching TV was a big one for them too. So.
Yeah, and I think too also the idea of how are you watching TV, right? Are you vegging out or are you like actively engaged? Yeah. So like for me, when I'm vegging out, I'm watching Bob's Burgers or like Kim Possible.
That's real.
Like I'm not actually actively paying attention. Like it's just kind of background noise and it's not life-giving for me. Yeah. But a show that I've really been enjoying and actually watching has been Schitt's Creek. That has been my show of choice. Like that I'm like, okay, I'm sitting down with a cup of tea. Right. And I'm watching
you're
it.
Engaged.
Yeah. What's your show again? Are you watching The Office right now?
I'm watching The Office right now, and then I'm watching, there's a show called The Regular Show that I'm watching right now that's like kind of like a downtime show, but I think, Taylor, you're right. Like, I think it's so important to like notice when you're engaged and when you're not engaged. Yeah. And like, there's a National Geographic show that's like on national parks that I like watching. Okay. It's like super engaging and super filling and inspiring at the same time too. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, National Geographic, that's so old.
Yeah. I'm an old soul.
That's so funny. Yeah. And so again, we would love to know what TV shows are you watching that you're actively watching, and I want to compile a list of those different TV shows, movies, books, so we can share it with you so you have new recommendations. And then finally, a lot of you said yoga. Yeah. I got a lot of responses of yoga and exercise, and we're not gonna like demonstrate yoga for y'all, but Phil, I hit a milestone in my life.
I heard about this.
Look, y'all.
Check this out, y'all.
My leg was a little bent, but it's fine. I could touch my toes, I swear. That was actually part of my self-care regimen for the last month was a productivity thing, right? Like I wanted to be able to touch my toes. So every night for the last month, I've stretched for 30 minutes.
Wow, 30 every night.
And I watch a TV show while I do it. I watch Schitt's Creek while I do it.
And then just stretch and then...
Enjoy my cup of tea.
Enjoy your cup of tea, y'all. You she said it right there. That's how you do self-care.
That's how you self-care. That's how I self-care. Right. And so hopefully these ideas of self-care were helpful for you and they give you something to build off of. If you have a self-care item that you like to do that we didn't mention today, send them to us. We would love to, again, just compile a list of different ways for you to start exploring what self-care looks like. Please rest up during the holiday season, rest up during finals and just during the break. Come back in the winter rejuvenated and excited to jump into school and into these ministries. We're pumped to be celebrating with you come January 2021. Yep. And now, Rock, I got a short little message for you. Hey everyone, so I am here for just a quick message as we have been going through our Back to Basics series. So for the last couple of weeks, we've studied different Bible study methods. We've talked about the SOAP method and we've talked about the highlighting method. And then finally, we're gonna just read through the Bible together. And so over the next 5 weeks, while we don't have Big Rocks anymore, we're going to read the Bible together. We're going to read through the book of James. There are 5 chapters in James. So we are going to go through a chapter a week. So starting on December 10th, which is a Thursday, you're going to get a weekly email from me of reading through the Bible, reading through the book of James. You can expect discussion questions, study tips, and I would love if you joined me in that, as we actually got the opportunity to practice the SOAP method and we have to practice the highlighting method. I don't want you to just have the method to study the Bible. I also want you to build the momentum of what does it look like to read my Bible every day, every week, and to also experience reading through a whole book of the Bible all the way through. And then so this week, Wednesday on Big Rock, we aren't going to be starting this. We are actually going to just enjoy our final rock of the year together. We're going to play games and have fun, maybe do a couple marble races, maybe do some extra polls. If you come on Wednesdays, you know. So I'm excited to celebrate with you and to ring in the end of 2020 together. See you then.